Welcome to Groton. I'm your host, Cindy Olsen. Today we have lots to catch up on with the Groton School District, school reopenings, the upcoming budget, and new schools. With us today via Zoom is Groton Superintendent Susan Austin. Welcome, Susan.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad you could make it this virtual meeting. I love it. Thank you so much. You're freshly new again, and welcome to the job. Congratulations. Within the past year, there's been a lot going on. You've recently been appointed superintendent, and how have the first few months been for you?
Well, I just want to tell you that one of the best decisions I've ever made was to accept the position of assistant superintendent in Groton in 2014, working closely with Dr. Grenier as my XO. My brother Jim Austin, who lives in Ledyard, actually called me up when I was an associate superintendent in Stanford and said, "Come home, Susan, there's a position in Groton and there's this wonderful Ledyard superintendent who has moved over to Groton." So I did. And the rest is history. So as a submariner's daughter, whose dad was at sub base during the late 70s, I've come home and I couldn't be happier. And I think my experience with Groton Public Schools has well prepared me to take on the superintendency after 7 years with my mentor, Dr. Michael Grenier, and with my outstanding team here in Groton Public Schools. I think always as an educator, I take my responsibility for students, families, teachers, and staff that I serve very seriously, and especially during a pandemic. I've always prioritized health and safety while ensuring really excellence in teaching and learning. And I would say that my beginning transitions really have focused on all these things and maybe a few snowstorms, not too many. And at the time, we're rolling out spring reopening programs, which will increase our in-person learning to as high as 85%, 90% in some schools, which I'm thrilled. And kids will be coming back for 4 days a week, and by May, June, 4.5 days a week. And we're making sure that the staff is vaccinated. We're continuing to contact trace. We're still receiving positive cases. We're working closely with Steve Mansfield with Ledgelight Health District. And we're continuing the Groton 2020 rollout. We're opening up our magnet school lottery for elementary schools. All elementary children will have the choice of being at a homeschool, or they can choose to go into a lottery. So, and we have 2 brand new schools that will be launched. Very exciting times.
Very exciting. Wow. I don't know if any other superintendent had to walk into the role as you have this past year. So, wow. You were just speaking about the new schools. This was one thing you didn't mention. Are the superintendent to walk in during the largest in the town's history, school project ever. Can you talk to us about the new middle school and how far along we are with that Groton 2020 plan?
I'd be happy to. Really, the Groton 2020 plan has been really one of the most exciting initiatives I've ever worked on. And Mike Grenier and I worked with many community members and faculty and staff to imagine this plan with a vision of excellence, equity, and efficiency. With the building of the one middle school at the top of Fort Hill, steps away from our lighthouse, Fitch High School, and creating this international baccalaureate campus with middle years program, careers program, and diploma program. I don't know that any other district in the state has all of that happening. Groton Middle School was the recipient of a multi-million-dollar federal MSAP grant about 4 years ago, and it first magnetized our 2 existing middle schools back in 2017. Cutler Middle School was an arts and humanity. Westside Middle School was a STEM. They've come together now, Groton Middle School as a STEAM school and an MYP candidate school. Kids have so many choices of wonderful avenues to pursue, through the arts, through Project Lead the Way, robotics, engineering. It's just amazing, the choices. A fitness center, a black box theater, Because of COVID, we really haven't been able to even have families come through to visit, but there'll be a day because we can't wait to show it off. And I
Yeah.
think the most important part of this project was it balanced our community. So each of our schools will be a mirror of the community. We were at risk when I first got here, Mike and I first got here, of being out of balance racially and socioeconomically. And this program really corrected that.
Susan, that's all really great information. You have had the blessedness, I guess, of taking over in the world's largest pandemic. How has that been going for you, and what are the biggest challenges for you as the superintendent?
Well, I know that I might be repeating myself, but as an educator, teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, now superintendent, safety and health are always a prime foundation of keeping kids safe. And so there's social emotional learning as well. And we know that during this pandemic, there's been a lot of disconnectedness. And, that is a concern. But I feel like we really are well positioned in the district, whether it was taking care of technology needs. We were already a one-to-one and we gave out hotspots. We had increased our number of social workers. So we have these teams that are able to go out and outreach to families and help support them. We have a wonderful food service program, and we've been able through grants to be able to feed all of our children. No questions asked. And we have sites for feeding them breakfast and lunch, and it's going to continue all the way to end of September of next year. And we're hoping that it'll continue further down the road. I think teaching and learning has changed significantly. And I'm hoping that we can take those silver linings so that we can make education even better than normal when we do return and we're in a safer position. We'll use assessments from the state as tools to help meet student needs and accelerate their learning and find out what they know and what they don't know yet, and really give them what they need. But most importantly, we need to re-engage them in school and community and keep them safe and healthy. And one of the exciting things that through some of the grants that we're receiving, we're able to add tutors and support staff, social workers, and programs. So we're hoping to have a really dynamic summer school and summer camp program for elementary, middle school, and high school.
That is so excellent. Wow. You just covered a lot, but all of it sounds superb. So you mentioned earlier that you guys have worked well with Ledge Light Health District. And I know this safety and health is a concern. And again, it's not just physically, it's mentally. But can you talk about the relationship you've had with Ledge Light Health District the past few months?
Such an important relationship. Steve Mansfield has met with our reentry team that we have across the district. I have about 45 teachers, paras, board members, administrators who have worked diligently to really get kids back to school. And he's met to talk about safety. He's also met with our Board of Ed. I talk to him at least 2 or 3 times a week, whether it's in, a large group setting, which is spearheaded by our Connecticut State Department of Education and the CDC, and also our local health districts, to really talk about what's happening. That's a weekly meeting. I also network with our Learn superintendents and the Alliance superintendents. And, he's often there also encouraging us and giving us the most updated information. With the vaccine rollout, it was significant. As soon as he gave the superintendent's information, we passed it along to all of our staff. And, it was a little frustrating at first trying to get in for the appointments. Sometimes you had to reboot your computer,
Yeah.
but everybody was diligent, and it seems like it's worked out well. So I think most of our staff has received at least their first vaccine, and we're hoping by the end of the month, everybody will have had their second. That's pretty good turnaround time.
Yes, that's wonderful and great strides by everybody. Yes, Steve is amazing. So I'm glad you guys have that relationship. So you mentioned it before, but when will Groton schools return to full-time schooling?
So we really are looking at next Monday, bringing back K through 2 students. We've actually been expanding our cohorts all along. So we've been bringing back children who either have special education needs or they're EL students and where English is a second language to them, or they just have had some challenges with remote learning. So we've been growing those cohorts all along to bring kids in 4 days a week. But we do have a designated plan. So our littlest learners are coming back next Monday, followed by our grades 3 through 6 the following week. And then the following week after that will be our middle school and high school students. So, and some parents have reached out and said, can I sign up to have my child come back 4 days a week after April break? Because I just will feel safer. And that's fine. What I've been saying is, talk to the principal at your building and we'll work this out. We just want them to make a commitment because I think that we don't want to go back and forth, on a daily basis. That if kids are sick, they need to be, at home and they're absent. But if you're quarantining for 14 days because you've been a contact, we want kids to learn so we can shift over to remote learning in those specialized cases.
Right. Wow. That sounds like quite the plan, and I love it. Everyone must be so excited. The teachers have done such a tremendous job, but this is probably going to be their favorite part, is having the kids all back.
Well, last week we had Read Across America, and I was in all 8 schools reading to kids. And I was like on the Zoom, so I was seeing my friends at home, and then I had my friends in front of me, and it was fabulous. And we did a little something different. Instead of Dr. Seuss, we had one district, one author, Kwame Alexander, who's one of my favorites, and a few problems, and mostly social justice problems we were talking about. So as part of our diversity, equity, and inclusion rollout, this was really important. And every school got a set of Kwame Alexander's books, and the kids so enjoyed it, from How to Read a Book to The Undefeated and Rebound and a few of his others. So if you haven't read any of Kwame Alexander, he's an awesome poet and writer.
I love that so much. Susan, we're going to take a quick break for a moment here, and then we're going to come back and talk some more. Is that okay with you? Okay, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
By now, you've heard the good news. Connecticut is vaccinating our residents to help prevent the spread of COVID-19.
The vaccines have been thoroughly tested. They're safe and they're saving lives.
We're now vaccinating our highest risk residents, but that's just the start.
Vacunarse le protege a usted, a sus seres queridos y a nuestra comunidad.
Getting vaccinated is how we get back to normal.
Keep checking this website to see when, where, and how you can get vaccinated.
Hello, and we're back with Welcome to Groton with Superintendent Susan Olsen. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
So we just covered a lot, but we have more to cover. So can we talk about the state and federal help that Groton schools have gotten and how it's impacted you?
Well, we've really been supported by the state and federal government with, in so many ways. There are grants called the CARES Act grants. We received our first ESSER 1 or CARES Act 1 last year in the amount of $600,000. And there was an additional COVID relief fund at $1.3 million. And then recently we've received what they're calling ESSER 2 or CARES Act 2 for $3 million. And we've been able to use those funds for staffing and tutoring during school, before and after school, the additional subs that have been required when people go out to be quarantined and, because of cases or contacts, so that we can run our buildings. And then, additional staff, supplies, technology. So it's been an incredible contribution to us. so that we didn't have to use operating funds for these things. Also, PPE has been quite costly, and cleaning products to make sure that our buildings are, well taken care of, and, trying to help control as much as we can this COVID-19. So I would say that, it's really been a generous contribution. Also, the state of Connecticut provided us with laptop computers last year, Dell computers, over 1,100 of them for our students, and they're all distributed throughout Fitch High School. They also gave us books for students in the summertime, and we're hoping to utilize some of our funds to be able to give those resources also for our summer learning program to our children. So beyond that, the federal government has just announced the $1.9 trillion, and out of that, Groton is due to receive over $7 million. And this can be funds that would be used for major projects that would be, COVID related, like ventilation and air quality. And that's something that we're constantly keeping track of to make sure that our buildings are, up to par, and they, are inspected, and that we have everything in working order. So staffing needs, direct support services for students, technology enhancements, all those big ticket items can be used if they're pandemic related.
That's incredible. I'm so glad to hear that all those resources were available to Groton and that you're using them so wisely, because the pandemic was something you probably didn't budget for.
Right.
Speaking of COVID-19, how hard has that hit the fiscal year 2022 budget for you? How much of an effect is that?
Well, I would say that because of the contributions from the federal and the state government, we've been able to really work since September when Mike was still here. We worked with our central office team, with our building principals, and because of really the driver is always your staff. And, we always say, what do we give our students in school? And the best thing we give our students is their teachers, their paras, their principals and administrators. And that's the largest portion, is 3/4 of any school budget, anywhere you go. And with contracts the way they are, and steps, especially for the teachers, because that's the largest number of staff in bargaining unit. And, we were looking at a 3.1 increase, which matched or mirrored the staffing cost. So, but with a lot of hard work and going back to the drawing board over and over again, and working with our Board of Ed, my superintendent's budget that had gotten down to 1.1%, in working with our board, the board's budget is 0%. So I would say that, and we've been able to do that quite a few years. In the years that I've been here, the average is always below or right about 0.5%, if you did an averaging of increases. So I would say that we accomplished our goal.
I would say so too. That's very admirable. And like you said, the teachers are the biggest asset. And I think if anything, the pandemic taught everyone in our community was how important the teachers are and what they do. And there's going to be a lot more appreciation for them. So yeah,
we look forward to actually presenting to the town council on March 25th. And I'll have a presentation that we will make sure we publish so you can see all the details of that budget. And then the town council also reviews it on March 29th. And Kim Watson, who's our board chair, and I will be there at that meeting too to answer any questions.
Perfect. Something most people always want to know is, how does this affect your class sizes and the curriculum for the next year?
Well, I would say that we've been able to maintain class sizes. It's in contract in the teacher's contract, but it's also our board looks at their list every year to say, what does the average kindergarten class size, what should it be? And our numbers have always been very good here. I would say for our lower elementary grades, we try to keep them at around 20 per class. Some of our upper grades are more like 24, 25, so upper elementary, middle school, and into the high school. But we do have some class sizes that are slightly less than that too. So I don't see that there has been an effect, that we've been able to maintain that. We've also built in efficiencies with the reduction of schools. Remember, we closed Pleasant Valley a couple years ago, and this year we'll be closing Claude Chester and Mary Morrison and SB Butler, and we're reducing now to 5 elementary schools. And I think at one point, right before I got here, there were 10. So there are built-in efficiencies, cost avoidances with that. There's one less principal from, this year to next year. So I would say that we've taken advantage of those opportunities as much as we could. So I don't know if I've completely answered your question, but.
Yes, you did. No, excellent. Thank you. You actually already touched on one of my next questions was, were there savings due to the consolidation of the schools, and, how were you able to limit the increase in your budget? I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on that.
I did miss out on my favorite topic, which is curriculum.
Oh,
I've had a lot of great experience over my years with curriculum and making some paradigm shifts in education that will increase rigor and relevance for kids and make things more exciting, especially in the world of mathematics. That's my thing.
oh.
But I have to tell you that since we've been here, we've been able to update all curriculum, pre-K through 12, in every area through our strategic planning. And with our DODEA grants, we've had and the MSAP grant, about $8 million worth of grants within the 7 years to help support Groton Public School students. And those DODEAs are Department of Defense education activities. We had one in literacy, which partnered us with Columbia University's Teachers College Reading Writing Project, which I had been very involved in my years in Fairfield County, even as a teacher. So really happy to have brought that here to Groton. And we also, in mathematics, I've reconnected with my college professor, Dr. Kathy Fasno, who has written many, many books on young mathematicians at work and her context for learning mathematics, where she really does the deep dive into problem solving and really analyzes where kids are on a landscape of learning in mathematics, giving teachers really deep understanding with this embedded coaching, just like TC, on understanding how kids learn mathematics. And then, of course, our standards in science changed, of course. So we have next generation science standards, and we partnered with CREC, and we've given teachers the opportunity to build units of study while also being given professional learning. And then there's the Connecticut Frameworks in Social Studies. Our World Language Department has done an awesome job, and all of our Unified Arts. So yeah, it's a pretty heavy lift, but it's all good work. And the thing about curriculum is it doesn't go in a binder and get dusty anymore. We have a platform that teachers go to, and we're constantly re-examining it. And especially when we went through the pandemic, we needed to go back and prioritize those standards through the Connecticut State Standards, or the Common Core, that was first originally rolled out. And we really tried to compact the curriculum to find out the essential ingredients of what kids needed to know, especially since they were either at home in the spring last spring, or they've been hybrid or remote this year. And that work has really been very collaborative. Our teachers have done an excellent job and will continue to do that, and look at ways to accelerate their learning as we bring them back.
Yeah. Wow, Susan, that is so awesome. I love all of it, especially all the curriculum, and I can see why you get excited about it. Excellent. We only have a few minutes left, so I wanted to just touch on a couple little things. Technology, you touched on that real quick, but the school budget addressing technology and the infrastructure needs. Anything you want to mention on that?
We always have in our operations budget sustainability built in. So whether it's for our infrastructure, for all of the wireless internet, especially now with so many devices, we're basically 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 in all of our schools. Kids have technology that they can bring back and forth from home to school and kind of own that Chromebook or laptop as a middle schooler and a high schooler. And then in our lower grades, we have computers in the classroom and they have computers at home. So they don't have to bring them back and forth. So I would say that work was not just operation funds. We, for the 7 years that I've been here, we've used the Department of Defense, what they call supplemental impact aid funds. And so we get about $250,000 to $350,000 that comes right to the district to fund and support technology. So that has been ongoing. And I said that was really what helped us to be ready when this hit, because we already were one-to-one and we were able to send our students home with their Chromebooks. And if they, it happened like overnight. So we actually set up stations. The principals were out there outside giving out hotspots and Chromebooks, and we had central office open so families could pick them up. And if they weren't working, we would bring them back and repair them. So I would say we've got a good setup for technology, but we know that it does need to be updated, every so often, every 4 to 5 years. So the way we've staggered it, I think we've got a good plan to continuously upgrade.
Great. That sounds like a great plan, and I love how you use the Department of Defense as supplemental. So we have to close up, and I'm sorry because I know there's so much more you have to share with us. Can you touch back again? Where can somebody see the fiscal year 2022 school budget, and when is your meeting?
So we actually meet with the town council next Thursday, the 25th, and in the evening. I think the meeting starts 6:30. So we'll do the presentation to them. We'll post that presentation up on the website. We do have a new Groton Public Schools budget book for FY22, and I will make sure that is also published. We've organized the website so you can find everything from pandemic to news topics to what's happening with COVID tracing and what's happening with magnet schools and elementary, middle school, high school, all the schools. And then certainly we'll have the budget up and have its own space on the front page.
Perfect. Well, Susan, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And wow, I'm so impressed with everything you, your staff, everyone has done, and the students at home too, the families and students, everybody working together. Thank you all.
To say the shout out goes to not only, all of our staff, but also to our families and our students. This has been a really heavy lift. This has changed everybody's life. We've all had to do things differently this year. But with the parent support and really helping their children, they've had this little window of opportunity to see how their children learn and how school is, even though it's a little different than it normally is. So I really want to thank all of them too.
It's been a team building thing, right?
It has absolutely been a team building. We've needed each other more than ever before.
Yes, and hopefully it continues on. And Susan, thank you again. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to meeting with you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for tuning in.